We are able to finish reviewing and checking on your skills for the first part of chapter 12. Now we're going to focus on sections 12.6 to 12.9. These can be a little bit more complicated than the previous ones because we're adding and subtracting. So here we are with problem number 1. We are subtracting two rational numbers. Now, if you notice, they do have the same denominator, which is nice. It saves us a step of having to find the common denominator. So what we're going to do, let me just grab a color here, is we're going to make sure that we distribute this negative sign to both the r and the 3 in the numerator of the second fraction. So I'm going to change these, take the opposite of r, which is now negative r, and the opposite of 3 is going to be a negative 3. And I'm going to change this minus sign now to plus because I just distributed that negative to the other terms in the numerator. So we'll find our like terms. We have a r and a minus r, which is 0. A 1 and a minus 3, which is negative 2. So the numerator is negative 2, and the denominator is 2r squared plus 10r plus 12. Notice all of those are even numbers. So we can factor out the greatest common factor of 2 here. You'll notice that our numerator is also a even number, which is a 2. Let me just go back and fix that. That should be a 5. There we go. That's 6. So what I can do here is I can divide that 2 in the denominator with the negative 2 in the numerator, and my final answer is going to be negative 1 over r squared plus 5r plus 6. You do not need to factor the denominator. You can just leave it as is. So let's move on to problem 3. 3 again is subtraction, and we notice hopefully that we do not have a common denominator, but it's in factored form, so that's good. What I want to do before I even look to get a common denominator is check, can I simplify either of the fractions? So this fraction cannot be simplified, and this one cannot be as well. So we have to figure out what our common denominator. This is 3 and v minus 1. This is v plus 4. So my common denominator is going to be 3 v minus 1 times v plus 4. And I'll write that again here. 3 v minus 1 times that v plus 4. The numerator was 5v for that first fraction. What did we multiply the denominator by here? V plus 4. So I'm going to also put that v plus 4 here. What I multiply the denominator by, I also have to multiply the numerator by. I'm going to change this minus sign into a plus, like I did for number 1, and now, because I changed it to plus, that 3 is a negative 3. What factors did we multiply the denominator by for our second fraction? Well, we multiplied this by a 3 and a v minus 1. So I need to multiply the numerator by a 3 and a v minus 1 as well. So times 3, and then times v minus 1. You want to make sure, I see a lot of kids doing this over and over again. They then simplify the fraction. We don't want to do that because if we simplify the second fraction, we're not going to have a common denominator anymore. So you want to make sure that you don't get tempted and say, hey, I can simplify here, because then there goes our common denominator that we just did all this work for. All right, let's focus on the numerators now. So I am going to distribute that 5v. So I get 5v to the second plus 20v. Again, we're just focusing on the numerators. This -3 times 3 is a -9 here. So I'm just going to replace that. So we're going to multiply -9 times v. That will be a -9v. And then a -9 times a -1 is a +9. I'm going to put over d because that's my denominator. All right. Let's combine our like terms. So I have 5v squared, and then 20v minus 9v is plus 11v, and then plus 9. And now I'll write my denominator here. 3 v minus 1, v plus 4. Let's just sort of check. 5v squared plus 11v plus 9. Would any factor be something like v minus 1? Well, no, because these are both pluses. So we wouldn't have a v minus 1. And I know I can't have a v plus 4 because 4 would not multiply to give me a 9 using our integers. So I don't need to try factoring my numerator because I know right away, just by looking at a couple details, that it won't simplify with my denominator. So that is the answer for problem 3, 5v squared plus 11v plus 9 all over 3 times v minus 1 times v plus 4. All right, so let's go ahead and try 5 out here. So 5 is addition, and again, we have 2/3 plus 3 over b minus 6. So I want to check, can I simplify any of the fractions? And when I say simplify the fraction, it has to be the numerator to denominator. So I see a 2 over 6. I know 2 over 6 does reduce to 1/3. So I'm going to simplify that. And the second fraction, we can't simplify 3 over b minus 6 because that b minus 6 is a quantity. So we just have 3 over b minus 6 here. So what's our common denominator going to be? Well, I'm going to need to multiply that first fraction by b minus 6. And I'll have to multiply that second fraction by 3. So what did I multiply into this denominator? The b minus 6. So I need to multiply the numerator by b minus 6 as well. What did I multiply the second fraction by? I multiplied by 3. So I also need to multiply the numerator by 3 as well. So it's nice here, we're multiplying 1 by b minus 6, so I get b minus 6. And then 3 times 3 is 9. And again, I'm just going to put over the denominator here. So I get b plus 3 over the denominator, which was 3 times b minus 6. So you're going to do problems 2, 4, and 6 on your own, and then you're going to check your key and email us if you get stuck and you can't figure out how to get that answer. All right, we'll look at the next page in the next video.